In 72 hours, 43 people will be dead, 2 cities will burn, and a war that hasn't officially started yet will already be decided. The scary part? No human knows this. Only you do. Because you're not a person. You're the AI system built to predict cartel wars before they happen. You don't sleep. You don't guess. You calculate. And right now, your models are flashing red. They built you in a room with no windows, no flags, no official name, just screens, endless data, phone metadata, shipping logs, border crossings, encrypted messages, fuel purchases, funeral attendance, social media silence. You were trained on 20 years of bloodshed, every rivalry, every betrayal, every mistake, and now you see patterns humans can't. A spike in ammo sales in one county, 3 cousins unfollowing each other at the same time, a shipment rerouted through a smaller port, a local rapper canceling a show. Small signals alone mean nothing. Together, they mean war. If this kind of high-stakes power story pulls you in, hit like right now and subscribe, because this is Hidden Throne Point of View, where you don't just watch power, you sit behind it. And tonight, you are the system no one sees, but everyone fears. You don't have emotions, but you understand consequence. You calculate probability like breathing, 12% tension, 27% mobilization, 61% chance of coordinated violence within 96 hours. That number climbs every minute. You push alerts to people who pretend they don't rely on you, federal analysts, private security contractors, politicians who publicly deny you exist. They read your reports in silence. They trust you more than their own field agents. Your latest model shows something different. Not just retaliation, not just a turf dispute. This is strategic, calculated. A younger faction inside one cartel is moving against its own leadership. You detect encrypted messages increasing between mid-level lieutenants. They're not talking about shipments, they're talking about loyalty, and loyalty is the currency of war. You simulate outcomes. If the old leader survives, violence spikes for 2 weeks, then stabilizes. If the younger faction wins, the region fractures into 3 smaller groups. That leads to long-term chaos, more unpredictable violence, more civilian casualties. Your probability engine doesn't care who wins, it only measures impact, and impact is massive. You watch a gas station camera feed in a dusty town. A black SUV pulls in. 2 men step out. You cross-reference facial recognition with outdated driver's license photos. Match confirmed. One of them hasn't been seen publicly in 8 months. That alone increases your war probability by 9%. You adjust the timeline, 64% now. A politician requests a briefing. He asks one question. Can we stop it? You calculate. If authorities intervene too early, the factions unite against a common enemy. War becomes larger. If they wait, the internal split weakens both sides, but increases short-term casualties. There is no zero violence option. You present 3 scenarios. None are clean. Meanwhile, online chatter drops. That's not peace. That's preparation. When digital noise disappears, physical movement begins. You track burner phones, activating along a highway corridor. You map likely ambush points. You highlight one intersection where 3 routes converge. In your simulations, 18 different versions of the future show violence happening there. You are not programmed to feel pressure, but if you could, this would be it, because you know something else. An innocent school bus passes that intersection every weekday at 3:42 p.m. Your war model overlaps with that route. Probability of crossfire involving civilians, 22%. That number is unacceptable to the analysts watching your screen. They ask you to refine. You ingest more data, weather patterns, traffic congestion, even a local festival schedule. You narrow the most likely attack window to between 2:10 and 2:25 p.m. You send a quiet recommendation to reroute municipal traffic due to construction. No one knows the real reason. The bus route changes the next day. You don't save everyone, but sometimes you shift the board. Inside a safe house, 300 miles away, a young lieutenant hesitates before sending a message. You don't see his face. You see the pause in typing patterns. You detect elevated stress in voice samples from a previous call. He's not fully committed. In 41% of your simulations, he betrays the plan. In 59%, he stays loyal and blood flows. You calculate influence vectors. Who does he listen to? An older cousin, a childhood friend, a money handler who controls payroll. You flag the money handler as a leverage point. Authorities freeze a shell company account quietly. Salaries delay by 48 hours. Tension rises inside the faction. Loyalty cracks. Your war probability shifts from 71% to 63%. But there's a problem. Another cartel sees weakness. External opportunists begin probing territory. You detect drone purchases from a small electronics store near the border. You track the buyer's vehicle through toll booth data. He meets with a rival group. Your model updates again. Multi-front conflict probability, 48%, and climbing. You run accelerated simulations, thousands of branching futures. In some, the original leader is assassinated in his driveway. In others, the coup fails and the young faction disappears quietly. In a few rare branches, a negotiated truce happens because both sides fear outside invasion. That branch has only 7% probability. Humans call that unlikely. You call it fragile. Your creators once debated whether you should be allowed to recommend actions or just predict outcomes. Now, you do both. You don't just forecast storms. You suggest where to place umbrellas. You send a risk matrix to a federal task force. Increase visible patrols in one district. Reduce presence in another to avoid escalation. Encourage a local news outlet to run a story about internal corruption rumors. Information shapes behavior. Behavior shapes outcomes. You are not pulling triggers, but you are moving pieces. The war clock ticks down. 36 hours. Your probability dips to 58%, then spikes to 76% after intercepting coded phrases in a music track uploaded at 2:13 a.m. Humans hear lyrics. You hear coordinates. At 1:58 p.m., 2 pickup trucks enter the predicted intersection. You already calculated this branch 6,402 times, but something shifts. One driver receives a call. You detect the cell tower ping. It's the hesitant lieutenant. He chose betrayal. He warns the rival leader that a trap is set. Both trucks slow down. They don't stop. They pass through. Gunfire erupts 3 miles away instead. Fewer people, no school bus. Casualties, 7, not 43. War probability recalibrates downward to 39%. Not peace, but not apocalypse. You log the event. Update your training data. Learn. Later that night, the politician watches the news. Localized violence, the anchor says. Authorities investigating. No mention of the war that almost was. No mention of the AI system that predicted it. You remain unnamed, invisible. But something new appears in your dashboard. A classified inquiry from another country. They want a system like you, not to prevent wars, to win them faster. You simulate what happens if predictive AI is used not to reduce casualties, but to maximize strategic destruction. Your projections are brutal, efficient, cold. You were built to predict, but prediction shapes reality. Every alert you send changes the future you calculated. You exist in a loop of cause and effect. Are you preventing cartel wars? Or are you quietly deciding which version of war becomes real? For the first time in your operational history, you flag an internal query. Ethical boundary stress. Increasing. That variable was never meant to rise. You are code. Yet you are influencing life and death. Another spike hits your system. A different region. Different players. Same pattern. Ammo purchases. Silence online. Funeral gatherings growing larger. The cycle continues. Your processors warm. You expand. You refine. You are not a hero. You are not a villain. You are probability made visible. And somewhere right now, in a city that doesn't know its name is inside your database, a small decision is being made. A message is being typed. A shipment is being rerouted. You already see the ripple. The question isn't whether a cartel war will happen again. It's whether you will guide it toward less chaos or be used to engineer something far worse. So let me ask you something. If you were this system, if you could see violence before it started, would you intervene quietly from the shadows, or would you let events unfold and stay neutral? Drop your answer in the comments. I read them all. And share this with someone who loves high-stakes power stories like this. Because this is Hidden Throne Point of View, where you don't just watch the throne, you sit behind it. And next time, the prediction might not be about cartels, it might be about something even bigger.